The following video was recorded during ArcVic's 2015 OCD and Anxiety Week seminar. To see more segments from this exciting yearly event, or to learn more about ArcVic's helpline, support group, recovery programs, and community and professional education training, please visit the ArcVic website at www.arcvic.org.au.
Well, welcome everyone. We're going to get started. Sorry we're running a little late, but hopefully people are on their way. We've got expecting about 75 people this morning, so if you're on the end there, can I just ask maybe if you just move in a little bit, just makes it easy if people are coming in later, they can slip in on the end. That would be lovely, thank you. Good morning, my name is Michelle Graber. I'm the CEO for the Anxiety Recovery Centre, and on behalf of the Anxiety Recovery Centre I'd like to welcome everybody here today as part of our OCD and Anxiety Awareness Week. Normally we run a number of events and we have got a couple of other events that are already fully booked out, but unfortunately we're running a lot of events in other organisations this year. But look forward to Mental Health Care Week because there'll be a lot of things happening. And if you're a member of ArcVic, you are also entitled to enter those events as a membership price. So if you want to find out a little bit more about that, please come and speak to either of the staff during the course of today. We've got a full table today, so I'll get started. You haven't come here to listen to me. I want to introduce our first speaker this morning, which is Lisa. Lisa is one of our volunteers. She's been volunteering with ArcVic for about 1.5 years now. She's on our helpline, she's just done our support group facilitation training and just about to set up a parent support group based in Surrey Hills. Previously, in her previous life, she's been a teacher, tertiary teacher, student support and counsellor. She's currently studying counselling. She's passionate about supporting parents as she's had her own battles with anxiety and parenting, which is why we've asked her to speak today. So please welcome Lisa.
Good morning. Okay, deep breath. Great for anxiety. Thank you to Michelle Graber for the opportunity to speak with you today about my story, specifically anxiety and parenting. Writing this story has been a thought-provoking exercise, which has reminded me just how far anxiety and I have come. I'm very happy to report that I stand here in a much wiser and happier space today than ever before. Today's focus, however, is not about where I stand now, but about the journey and how did I get here. My journey with anxiety has been difficult, frightening, and at times very, very dark. Without a doubt, the hardest of all these experiences has been that of parenting, where sometimes my anxiety has raged like a bull. As I'm a parent of a 14-year-old, I imagine many would say that the most challenging time is yet to come. They may indeed be right. I suppose only time will tell. So, with your permission, I'd like to share a very small part of my story before parenthood, childhood, as this not only relates to the focus of today's seminar, but also frames my parenting experience. This is where I begin, and I've called my story My Heavy Coat of Anxiety. I was a child of the 60s. You know, combi bands and flower power and all that sort of stuff. And I was born into an unusually funky family who were perfectionists. My dad was an award-winning industrial designer and my mum was a senior press officer for the French Society of Textiles with the French government. When I think about the 60s now, I marvel at my mum and at the job she held. This was big for those times. I have many memories as a young child of both of my parents working extremely hard. Every day they would work really late into the night, striving for perfection. Whether working on their own projects or renovating our old weatherboard home, Everything had to be just right. If not, an air of unease and tension would roll through the front door and hang like a thick fog. Only if and when their perfectionism had been achieved did the air clear again. Perfectionism and anxiety seem to me to make seriously great partners. Indeed, I think they are secretly the best of friends. Both had left a marked impression on me by the time I was 5. Not long after, I followed in my parents' footsteps. At 6, I fell head over heels in love with ballet. I was besotted, and it was my absolute everything. And it was a love that was to last for the next 13 years. Now, ballet offers much to a child: discipline, creativity, great physical development, and an outlet for passion. All of these things are fantastic and are intrinsic to ballet. However, I'd like to suggest that at its very core is an unhealthy and perhaps sometimes even dangerous focus on perfectionism. Every day in that classroom, I would push through bloody toes and streaming sweat and contorting my body to get it right, to be perfect. When I did, the praise would flow and feed the perfectionism beast. When I didn't, the negative voices of anxiety would fill my head. The chatter was absolutely extraordinary. Always, am I not good enough? As a young child and a teenager, I felt the weight of this anxiety. At times, anxiety would lie quietly in the shadows, and at other times, it felt heavy and cumbersome, like a huge wet duffel coat that hangs on your shoulders. Duffel coat giving away my age, I think. So, by the time I became an adult, I was well accustomed to the negative chatter in my head, the roller coaster of fear, and the weight of my heavy, anxious coat. My professional adult life, BC, before child, was dogged with perfectionism and its best friend. For nearly 20 years, I worked as a tertiary teacher, where I developed a rather unhealthy focus on control. In an attempt to alleviate my fears and anxiety, what I decided to do, as many do, was control. If I could control a situation, which then influenced the outcome, hopefully I would avoid what I was frightened of. Hey presto, the result, less anxiety. So controlling became my norm, an important quality to have as a teacher, especially with teenagers. However, it spilt over into everything, to situations, to places, and to people. Up to this time, I thought I'd experienced the worst anxiety could throw at me. I had absolutely no idea that looming around the corner was the most anxiety-provoking experience to come: having a baby and becoming a parent. My pregnancy had been planned and was, as you would expect, very tightly controlled. Every pregnancy book that crossed my path was read from front cover to back. Every step was planned. I was simply applying what I knew: plan, control, and so I lessened my anxiety. I remember my long-suffering husband watching me a little nervously. He could see the amount of energy that was being spent whilst I was running around like a loony. I think he knew I was heading for a crash, but he really didn't know how to help. So in January 2001, my hubby and I had a beautiful baby boy. Surprise, surprise, all the planning and control went out the door with his arrival. As with many births, there was little control, if any. I think the fear of taking home your firstborn is universal. I was the first in my immediate family to have a baby, so I had no experience whatsoever. And as we know, trying to control babies is just, well, quite frankly, lunacy. Despite knowing this intellectually, however, I pushed forward with my coping mechanism that had served me so well for years. I did try to control the sleeping, the feeding, and of course the crying, obviously with little success. My need to be the perfect parent was immense, and because of this, my anxiety grew. I lumbered from week to week with my heavy coat of anxiety. I could not shift it. I couldn't brush it off. I felt stiflingly hot and heavy, and I often felt like I couldn't breathe. Whatever I tried, that thick layer of anxiety stuck to me like a layer of glue. My heavy coat and sleep deprivation eventually got the better of me, and 9 months after my son was born, I was formally diagnosed with anxiety and postnatal depression. The weeks and months rolled by. I had forgotten how to sleep, and in the very dark of night, where I lay awake worrying, the negative voices took hold. Filled with self-judgment, I found myself asking, why? Why to everything? I wanted answers, because answers meant solutions, and solutions meant, you guess, control. My confidence was shattered, and I felt terribly alone. Other mothers appeared so confident as they spoke of routines and milestones, whilst my journey was fast becoming a blur. The next 2 years were challenging, as I finally submitted to the journey of perinatal anxiety and depression. And whilst parts of the journey were very, very dark, I was also able to stop, have a look at myself, and learn. Fabulous therapists encouraged me to challenge my beliefs. A mother-baby sleep unit supported the healing of both myself and my baby. A truly sensational P&D support group that importantly provided a space for me to be open, to be honest, to be heard, and to not feel so alone. Learning meditation and positive thinking, which showed me that I have the power to think differently. And eventually medication, all worked together to help me breathe again. Now, I'd like to say that all that wonderful support fixed the problem. But once my son commenced creche, I knew that I'd not shed my heavy coat. Perfectionism reared its ugly head again. Looking back now, I think of creche. What was there to be stressed about? Why was I anxious? What was the problem? The problem was perfectionism. The rather uncomfortable discussion with the childcare director about how she was not happy that my son had let go of a ripper of a swear word in the sandpit. Note to self, mustn't swear at home. The parents waiting at the school gate, and some of this may resonate with you. My child is reading chapter books. What about your child? Note to self, we need to read more. And learning of all those Kumon kids and how they were racing ahead at maths. Note to self, must get timetables under wraps and push ahead with maths. I would race home in a frenzy with another to-do. I was trying to do my best. I was buying into perfectionism. I was placing so much value in the words of others and was starting to send my child into an anxious spin. Yeah, history was repeating itself. My 5-year-old child was now starting to wear that heavy coat. Yes, I am the parent that pushed the homework and did the assignments, who looked for every opportunity to convince the world and myself that I was a great parent. I was so terribly anxious. The weight of that coat was overbearing again. Sheer exhaustion and a meltdown would eventually ensue. I would fall in a heap in a flood of tears and slowly remember, with the support of my beautiful husband, that I could calm down, that I had learned skills to deal with anxiety, draw some sense of reality, challenge my thoughts, and try to remember that perfectionism is not real, that I am okay, and that anxiety is just a part of being human. After this, my family of 3, who were all caught up in mummy's drama, could breathe again, and we would roll on forward until the next time. Parent, child, teacher interviews, school meetings and reports have been a huge challenge for me. I have to confess that on one of these occasions I sat as my child was getting a grilling from his teacher for failing to try, despite his huge potential, when suddenly I felt the wave of emotion hit and I stood exiting the room with tears gushing down my face. So embarrassing. And so the pattern would start again. Dealing with this roller coaster has meant that I've had several long and really beneficial relationships with psychologists, and that I am a perpetual student of positive thinking and meditation courses with the Brahma Kumaris, which in real terms means that I've sat through each of these courses over a dozen times each. Thank God they don't mind. I just keep going back and back because it helps me. Each time that I've struggled under the weight of my heavy coat, I've managed to stand back up, often in a flood of tears, take a deep breath, and recognise that I have been here before and that I can, with the help of all that I have learned, move forward again. As I look back on my parenting over the last 14 years, I can honestly say that my wild ride with anxiety has afforded me a great opportunity to learn about myself. I have learnt that I have done the best that I could at any given time, given the understanding and the resources that I had, and that the desire for perfection is an illusion, and that being anxious over something that simply doesn't exist is wasting my energy. Even though I worry and feel a bit guilty that my child has now formed his own relationship with anxiety, that this is part of his journey. Unfortunately, I can't undo what he has experienced with me. I can't remove that for him. But what I can do is to be mindful, supportive, open, honest, and when I can, try to model healthy behaviour. So today I wear a lighter coat. I know I can't remove it totally, but it's more comfortable. It's not so heavy, and it sort of sits like a second skin. It is indeed a part of me. I've also created a toolkit that I carry around with me every day to tackle my negative and anxious thoughts. It holds all that I have learnt, but inside you'll find my most precious tools, which are sayings and actions. If I opened it up for you, this is what you would find. Firstly, breathe. Just breathe. Deep diaphragmatic breathing. Breathe. It changes everything. SOS. Stop. Stop the whirlwind of thoughts. When they're negative, when I'm in a spin, stop. Stop them and breathe. O stands for observe. Have a look at the thoughts. Are they necessary thoughts? Are they positive thoughts? Or are they negative thoughts? And then the remaining S stands for steer. If that's a negative thought, push it away. I have the control. Push it away. You'll also find inside my toolkit exercise, often. And for me that's dancing and Zumba, and it's hysterical to watch me doing it, but it fuels my soul and I love those endorphins. I know my triggers and I protect myself. I don't stand at that school gate anymore, and I let my husband read and deal with the school reports. Meditate and visitive positive thinking regularly. It is so important. I use apps, lots of great ones for meditation, for relaxation, and for somebody like me who struggles with sleeping, great ones for sleep. I remember that what other people think of my child and me is their business. Don't take on their thoughts. My own thoughts are the ones that really matter. A great phrase which I use at ArcVic, it's not about me, which reminds me to not attach to things that aren't mine to own. Give. I volunteer previously at Panda for 3 years and now at ArcVic because giving takes me out of myself and it supports others in need. And in my toolkit is laugh. Wherever, whenever, and most importantly and especially at myself. So, as I draw to a close, I should confess that I've spent much time wondering why more parents don't talk openly about anxiety or the anxiety that they feel as a parent. Experience has taught me that being able to talk in the shape of a support group to other parents about P&D has had a profound influence on me. It really helped me to heal and helped me to move forward. I can see the anxiety on parents' faces. We all can. It is so common, but we seem to mask it. Wouldn't the face and shape of anxiety and parenting change if we could share and support each other openly and without judgment? I recently approached ARCVIC with this thought, and they have been truly wonderful and supportive in offering me the opportunity to start a parental anxiety support group. I feel really, really passionate about this, about giving parents support and space to be real, to lower their mask, to unbutton their coat a little, to breathe, and to learn from each other in an inclusive, caring and respectful environment. My hope is that with this small seed, that we can make a change. Change for a few, or change for many. There's an opportunity here. We can start something. So if you or someone you know needs support with parenting and they're feeling anxious, then please come along to our parental anxiety support group. Our details are on our website, on Facebook and on Meetup, and you'll see some flyers over on the bench there. So thank you. Thank you to Michelle Graber and ARCVIC for the opportunity to talk about something that I feel passionate about. Thank you.